What is going on, MPC fans? Just in case you didn't know, it's Justin's Case here, and I'm coming at you with your MPC Season 2 Playoff Pictures. We are coming at you with the end of Week 10, beginning of Week 11 this week, and it's time to start talking about which teams are in the runnings for playoffs for both each conference, who's got the best chances, who's still in the hunt, who's on the fringe, and potentially, unfortunately, who may be out of the race already. So it's time to start talking about that. It's time to think big picture, late season, who's got the best odds here. So anyways, let's dive right into what's going on. Alright, so it's fortunately I have to say that is no team has officially been eliminated as of this time from the playoff contention. Every team is still in the running right now. Nobody is out yet. There are teams that have a lot better chances, and there are teams that are very barely hanging on, but no one is officially out as of the end of Week 10 going into Week 11 yet. That could very easily change this week, as a single loss for some teams may be devastating and officially eliminate them from the race, but they are still in for the time being, and we will give them the chance to potentially, on speculation counts, to make the potential run. So anyways, we're going to just start off right with the Western Conference. As you'll see on your screen right there, you'll see the teams along with their record and differential. And you can see in order how the teams are ranked right now as of this at the end of Week 10. And let's jump in to talk about which teams have officially already locked into playoffs. And as of this time, only one team has done that so far. And it is your Tampa Bay Rays, coached by, well, me. So it's kind of ironic that I am talking about this. I don't want to toot my own horn for too long, but the Tampa Bay Rays are the first team from the Western Conference to lock into playoffs with a 10-0 record. No other team can officially kick us out from a playoff spot at this point, so we are officially locked in. The slot officially has not been decided yet. We can easily be moving around what's the official slot for playoffs we end up in, but we are guaranteed a slot. That cannot be denied from the Rays anymore, so they are locked in. I am locked in, and I guess we'll move on from there. So anyways, jumping into which teams are in the running for another slot in playoffs. There are 4 playoff spots for each conference, so one is secured by the Rays, and now there are only 3 slots left, and let's see who can potentially get them. So coming up with the next highest record is the Mobile Bewares, coached by Destin, and to secure a slot at this point, all Destin needs is one more win. And the reason being is, if you look at the other 3 teams that are next up, they're all tied at 5, and there are 4 weeks left in the season, but you'd be like, wait a minute, wouldn't that put him potentially at a tie at 9 if he only got one more win? That you would be right. But here's the thing: with those 5, with the teams that are locked at 5, two of the teams fight 1 week, which means one of them cannot have a perfect record potentially, which means only 2 slots potentially could get in over Destin, and the last slot, should he get that 1 win, he would guarantee have that slot. So Destin, if all he needs is 1 more win, and he's guaranteed into the playoffs. So his chances of getting in are really high right now. The only way he doesn't get in is if he has a really big stroke of bad luck, or just falls off the track really hard. And I don't foresee that happening. He's a very good battler, and I think his chances of making playoffs are extremely high. So I got faith in Destin. I think he's probably the most likely to make it at this point from the Western Conference. And yeah, there's not much else to say about that at this point. Now jumping into I want to say the Quartet of Trouble here, where it is probably the biggest race for playoffs at this point, is the 4 coaches right here in the middle pack, I want to say. There are the 3 coaches at 5 wins right now. You have the Tulsa Ex-Cajolers, coached by JT, the Oklahoma City Electivires, coached by Carlos, followed by the Chelsea Swablues, coached by Harley, all chilling at 5 wins. Only difference is differential, which follows with JT at 7, Carlos at 3, and Harley at -3 differential. And following close behind them, also to be included in here, is the Charlotte Beadrils with a 4-6 record, just behind them with a -10 differential. This is what I would call the middle pack. This is probably the biggest, I say, competitiveness left that will rush to playoffs. These 4 teams are in the closest to the hunt for the spots, especially the top 3 with 5 wins at the moment. So it is a very competitive race. I also want to note that this also is even more competitive because 2 of these teams will fight each other at one point. I believe the Oklahoma City Electivires will fight the Chelsea Swablues at one point, so which means one of them will not have a perfect record potentially going into this. So one of them will eventually be bumped off of the 2, and obviously that is a major game they're going to need to win in order to stay in the Hunter playoffs. The Carlos versus Harley is going to be a major deciding factor this season. So That game, Week 13, is going to be one to watch for, as well as a couple other big rivalry games. Week 14, Carlos versus Destin is a big one. Destin hasn't won any games by that point. A couple other ones within their own division. Destin versus Jake is a big one that's coming up very soon. I hope if Destin wins, it will lock him into playoffs. If not, this is the momentum Jake really needs to get back in the race, because he is down a little bit right there. He's not completely on the edge, but he's in the back of the hunting pack right now. So he needs to get back up there. He needs those wins to get in the hunt. And yeah, that's the main thing right here. So all four of these teams are considered in the hunt. They're not out, and it's definitely the most competitive group of the conference so far. And following up the rear, I would say on the edge of the spectrum, that is the potential playoff rankings, we have the Carolina Pangoros and the Columbus Crow, who essentially, they're not out. There are ways for both those teams to get back in. Mimo is down a couple of games. However, though, if his opponents above him do lose and he starts winning out, he can get back in this game. There are some matchups in his favor he could potentially win, but it is a tough run. It does heavily rely on his opponents above him losing out a little bit too, and him winning good. So it does rely. His chances are luck based, but he still is in this, and it is even bigger so for Hank and the Columbus Crow. He is down 2-8 is his record, and it is not looking too good for him. He needs to win out big this season. Towards the end, he needs to get back in it. If any team gets to 7 wins, essentially of these 5-2 teams, if 2 of them get 7 wins, he's officially locked out. So, despite him possibly trying to win out the season, if any of the 5 teams get to 7, or even if Jake gets to 7, or Mimo wins out and gets to 7, he will officially be locked out from playoffs. So Hank's chances are not looking too good. He is still in the race. He's not officially eliminated yet, but his chances are not looking too good, though. But we can hope the best for him. He still has a shot, and I'm hoping that he will give his all until someone tells him he cannot give any more. So that is going to be the Western Conference for you, and the chances that each coach potentially has here. So anyways, let's jump into the Eastern Conference now. So we're going to see now the Eastern Conference records start to pull up here. We're going to see the coaches' different rankings, differential, and record. And as for the Eastern Conference locked-in coaches, there are 2 of them. There is the Dallas Steel Wings and the Michigan State Mallwilds. Both coach with 8-2 records, and Michigan State Mallwilds is currently leading in differential with 24 positive, as well as the Dallas Steel Wings have 17 positive. So both these coaches are completely untouchable from Ace playoff spot. The lumber spot they are locked into is anybody's game, because they are at both the same record. Dubs may lead in differential right now, but that could very easily change if Junior gets a sweep or low differential winning games, vice versa as well. So the slot they're in for playoffs is anybody's game still. There are also another coach that is potentially close to claiming possibly a higher slot if they lose out and he starts winning big too. So the slot is up for grabs for ranking, but the slot itself is locked in for these 2. So congrats to them. You are officially in, and there are only 2 slots up for grabs for the Eastern Division or Conference. So it is a much tighter race, honestly, for this, because there are very few slots left. And going into probably the person who is the next closest to securing a slot, we have Noah and the Sporting KC with a 7-3 record as of the end of Week 10 with plus 16 differential. All Noah really needs at this point is he needs 1 win. 1 win, and he officially secures a playoff spot. Nobody else can touch him. If he loses out and there are teams that can possibly win and they win out, they can take him out as well, but all he needs is 1 win, and he needs guaranteed to got his spot. So that isn't really too hard to do. 1 win isn't too bad. There are some opponents he potentially could take out, I see, on his schedule, and all he needs is just 1. So he's got very good odds of making playoffs, and that's the sum of it, honestly. Yeah, Noah's pretty good. Chances are pretty good. Jumping down into the next pack of coaches, kind of similar to what we had with the Western Conference. The Eastern Conference has its own pack, not chilling around 5-4, but chilling around 4-3 this time. So at the top of this kind of similar pack, you have TBB and the Daytona Tortugas with a 4-6 record with -5 differential. You have the Winnipeg Goldlurks coached by Ray with a 3-7 differential. You have the Trenton Thunderesses by Brandon, also 3-7 record with -20 differential. And then finally you have Jordan of the Detroit Cavaliers with also a 3-7 record and negative 23 differential. So these teams are very close in record. That's also only basically, unless Noah loses out, there's only one slot left for playoffs because Noah is very likely to get that slot, and these teams have to win out to basically get that slot from Noah specifically if he does lose out. So realistically, they are fighting for one slot left in playoffs. TBB does have a little bit of an edge because he is one win up. However, anything could happen, honestly. He has a couple tough opponents ahead of him, as well as the other people could also get some good surprise wins. I know Jordan is on a roll, particularly after really struggling through most of the season. He's really started to pull back with a couple of wins lately. A lot of people had written him off, and he could honestly still get that playoff spot. There is a good chance for him still left right now. So, it really is anyone's game in this hunt, I gotta say. This pack, there is possibility. TBB, if he does win it out, he can secure that last spot. But if he does lose a game, he risks it to the other three coaches who are just behind him, and it's going to be a race to the finish, honestly. It's going to be a really close race for that last playoff spot, realistically. And then, honestly, the last coach who isn't officially out, but honestly I think is going to go out very soon, is the Portland Trail Blazers, coached by Jeff. Jeff is not officially out of the race yet, but in order for him to win, he needs to win out, and he basically needs to hope that his opponents above him lose. If anybody from the gets 7 wins, he eventually is permanently out because he cannot get back in it. The highest he can get is 6. It basically means if TBB gets to 7 wins, if any of the other teams get with 3 wins get a perfect, they're locked in, and he cannot reach past that. So, and with every loss he has, he basically pushes himself out from the game. So, at this point, with the teams also just getting closer, because I think at least of those 3 teams, 1 or 2 of them will win their game and move up closer towards that goal. If Jeff loses a game, he's essentially out of the race. So it's do or die for Jeff. He really needs to win these games and get back in it. Otherwise, he probably will be the first team, possibly along with Hank, to be eliminated from playoffs contention. So, Jeff, you're on the fine line. I'm hoping you can pull something out of your hat, buddy. Possibly, maybe not against me, because I do fight you this week, but I really hope you can pull something out of your hat, maybe. I would be pleasantly surprised, honestly. So, that is going to be playoff contention with a playoff picture for Week 10. We will probably be back next week with more playoff picture as more teams do push forward as the race becomes closer. Also, with some teams possibly getting eliminated from the contention. So, we'll be back with more discussion, more theory crafting of what happens, and I guess I want to talk, maybe the last thing I want to talk about is the matchups for this week. So, specifically for the teams who are really close on the line. Detroit Cavaliers go against the Oklahoma Victomiers, also another pack team for the Western Conference. Is going to be a very important game. Both these teams need these wins to get really ahead of the hunt. So, it's going to be a very competitive game. It's going to be a really tough game. The Tulsa Excadrillers and the Carolina Pangoros, both from Western, they both need this win to get back in the hunt. For specifically, Mimo needs to get back in the hunt, and JT needs to get ahead. Sporting KC needs that win. I don't know if he'll get it versus the Dallas Steel Wings, who may take it easier now that he's locked in, but the placement is important, so he may want to try and take Noah out, and we'll see how well that goes. And then there is the Daytona Tortugas versus the Winnipeg Golurks, another big match that both teams really want to win this game. TBB needs to stay ahead if he wants to secure that spot, and Ray, if he wants to get ahead of the hunt and keep up potentially with his other competitors who are chilling at the same spot as him, wants to get that win too. So these are going to be probably the big games to watch this week. And lastly, I guess there's one more thing, is Tampa Bay Rays versus Portland Trail Blazers. This will probably be an elimination match. If Jeff loses this, I'm pretty sure he will be out of playoff contention. So that is going, and as well as the Chelsea Squad Blues and the Columbus Crow in the same regard. So anyways, that is going to be the playoff picture. Thank you guys so much for watching. Go ahead and click that subscribe button to the channel down below. And we'll see you guys next time with some more playoff picture. Bye-bye.